Welcome to the Diamond Hands podcast, where medicine meets momentum and branding becomes a leadership system. I'm Leslie Tracy Craditchville, co-founder of Diamond Hands Media. I build aesthetic brands that lead, with a background in employee benefits and business finance, so brand becomes authority and asset value. This is mindset, money, and marketing for founders building brands that run without them. Because brand isn't a logo, it's how you lead.
My first memory of Miss Leslie Tracy was signing up for this little email prompt. And it was like, do you want to learn more about AI? And I'm like, as a business owner, hell yes, I do. I had just this little experience of ChatGPT, and she was teaching me things like turn up the temperature, just all the verbiage where I still use these things to this day. And from there, a beautiful friendship and, partnership and all of these things are blossoming. And now we get to have this chat. Okay. What is your first memory of me?
So I actually have seen you online for a long time. And then I actually saw you at Next. That was one of the first times that I had like more interaction with you or have you. And then where we talked a lot more was at the BenEv conference that happened in, it was like last November.
Yeah.
Like we really were able to sit down, chop it up, really like learn a lot more about each other, share a little glass of something. And it was like so great. And it's like, I remember how you were talking about your philosophy on life and business. And I was like, wow, I was like, this girl is tribe quality. And I was just like, yes, it's like we were on the same wavelength about so many different things. And yeah, and that's when I really got to know you a little bit better, I would say, at BenEv. And I was like, wow, this girl's amazing. So that's my first intimate memory of you.
Yes. Same. That was where it got intimate for sure. I think that when you have the space for those conversations, which don't typically happen at some of the bigger conferences, they're busy, hustle, bustle, tons of people pulling at you. And then being able to sit down, even I think we had a little brunch before we were all departing where we were talking about what books do you read? And that's, I feel like where things get really intimate because you can really see what someone's working on and where they place a value. And you told me about my personal MBA. You were like, hey, you haven't read that?
Jonathan Kaufman, that is the book, baby girl.
That's a Bible, right? It's really good. And so I was like, this girl she is smart, number one, super open, friendly, wants people to succeed. And I was like, she is going to be so successful. And so, yeah, we decided to have this chat, really kind of a little bit unscripted, unfiltered for sure. And what is the first topic that we kind of want to dive into?
Well, I think I told you this morning, I was reading for a few hours or whatever, and there's this book that I'm reading right now, and it has nothing to do with aesthetics, but it's called Seduction. And it's about all of these famous seductresses over the course of history. And it really kind of goes into the power of woman, because in this day and age, we have centered men so much to the detriment of ourselves. And I really love this quote from it. And like, for those of you single ladies, or even if you got a man, it still applies. It's like, once you become the queen of your world, you'll be the queen of your man's world, because you are governing yourself with responsibility. And the last one I want to say before, it's like, so with that, it's like, I think about sometimes like some clients that I work with or what have you, and they're thinking, even though they own a business, they're thinking so small-minded, and they're literally hiding behind their husbands. They put up a front like they're all this and they're all that, but when it comes down to it, they're hiding behind their husbands.
That's so true. I mean, I know some of the most powerful women in this industry that do that. And to your point too, like becoming the queen of your own world so that you can, it's not it shouldn't be an egotistical thing, but there's protection. And I think befriending the ego is important, but like living symbiotically with it. But I think also if you reframe it and you think about being the queen of your own world, that implies that you're putting a ton of work into yourself and you're using those hours in the morning to read and you're pouring into your cup so that it overflows into everyone else's, like, addressing things like childhood issues, like your inner child, who you are as a potential mother, who you are to your patients, who you are to your team, who you are as a partner. Like, how do you interact in that partnership that sometimes looks a little unorthodox, if we're honest, especially with some of these really high-powered female entrepreneurs that happen by accident, you know?
By accident, exactly. It's like, woo, I'm out earning my husband. How'd that happen? Like,
Yeah.
it happened.
It does. It happened, you know, in our story, and then we kind of embraced it together. But yeah, it does also take a special man. I think that there's a lot of interesting interdynamics and relationship shifts that can happen in this, in our industry specifically, that can be really interesting.
I think so. And I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit more about that because, there's probably a woman who's on the cusp of that. Like, maybe for the first couple years, you're kind of bootstrapping, you're not really taking much home. But then there comes a point in time where you're like, ooh, I don't have anything else to write off. I actually got to take this excess home. So for you, and what would you recommend for like women that are kind of going through that kind of like business like ascendancy and their husbands are still maybe working a 9 to 5, making $200,000 a year, but now wives are bringing home 4, 5, 6, 7. Tell me, how does that conversation go? How do you kind of blend that and continue to allow a man to feel like he's still the king of your life?
Yeah. I mean, people may be uncomfortable by my response, but I've been through it. So I feel like I can speak to it really well. You don't need to ever lessen yourself or try to make someone else feel like they're doing their role well. Your only job is to do your role well. And, whatever your calling is. And that's between, in my opinion, you and God. And there are going to be massive hurdles that are going to look personal in everyone's individual situation. And that exact thing happened to me. My husband's job is what opened my business. Like those big commission checks from jobs where he was like the man in that. And men, we know, just they want to provide. They want to make sure that they're the protector, the provider. And I will say that my husband is now part of the provision in how we've integrated him into the business, but he's definitely my protector, especially in certain strategic partnerships where I could tend to wear my heart on my sleeve and I bring that seductress feminine power. But then I have that masculine protection of like, whoa, let's look at this contract again. Like we just had a hard conversation this morning and where I was like, whatever, I'm here for the greater good. And he's like, wait a second, that's great, but let's peel back the layers and we're going to have to come to a compromise on this because, something unforeseen always is happening in business and it's not about what happens. It's about how you handle it. And so I think if you're with the right partner, which sometimes the reality is you're not, becoming a successful female entrepreneur will highlight toxic masculinity sometimes or major relationship issues that don't blame it on the business. Like that's always been there and you got to work through that. That's on you. I've done marriage counseling. We're open, authentic, transparent people and you either get on the same page and he either aligns with you or you don't. And you got to look at what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I encourage every woman. It's like, even because, I even know some women that they hide behind that to talk about why they're not successful. They're like, oh, I don't have a partner in my life. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm like, bam, like, no, I'm like, even if you don't have a partner in your life who might be that more, the logical thinker in certain ways and who's more of the protector in certain things. Because sometimes, like you said, as women, we tend to wear our hearts on our sleeves when we're doing negotiations, things like that, whatever. You have to employ your own providers, so to speak. And that goes to making sure you have a good lawyer that truly does advocate for you, that makes sure you have a good CPA that advocates for you and who actually knows what they're doing. And like, don't just like leave things up to chance. Because I think sometimes we just leave things up to chance and then we get screwed because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. I even think it's an interesting conversation about outsourcing. Like outsourcing can be so powerful. I'll be sitting here staring down the barrel of a big project. Like I'm rewriting all of my private training and expanding on those tracks. And so I'm like, man, am I going to create all this content? Like, how do you find someone? And then also, the flip side of that coin, is it more financially stable, less expensive, / could I get more out of this if you employ that in-house? So it's like really helping people think about the differences between outsourcing versus in-house and what works for them individually, of course. But outsourcing is a huge thing. Like, how do people get those resources for outsourcing?
Well, at first, I think what happens is that you have to identify the players. You need to identify. So it's like I say to everyone, is if you're going to run a business, get somebody who actually did it before you. Every great person has someone who showed up by accident or they sought out who was like, I can help you because I went through this and I know what you need. Mm-hmm. So I would say, for example, if you have a planning team or what have you, of course, we have people or whatever, but if it's not us or something, then you talk to another injector who's more senior. Go to the conferences, guys. Stop staying in your area and saying, I don't have any colleagues. I don't have anything. It's like anyone that's doing anything, they put themselves out there. That's how they develop their networks and their networks of help as well.
Yeah.
And so
isn't that crazy too? Like with conferences, I want to touch on this. Like, I will tell you, I don't think I take so much away from the actual conferences that you sit at, the sessions. I take so much away from networking, like those one-off conversations, like how you and I started, like, what book did you read? What do you use for this? Like that kind of thing too. Like that is where you build. And I've gotten my best ideas from just like those masterminds that are just unofficially there. You know, it's those unofficial conversations that you have.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I really think it sounds so cliche. This has been played like a dead horse, but like your vibe attracts your tribe. Yeah. It's so true because everything, the Hertz scale, everything, even the clothing that we wear vibrates on a certain frequency. Mm-hmm. And so, ladies wear silk, cotton, and linen. The highest frequency clothing. But yes.
And you always look fabulous. So everyone needs to take a page out of your book for sure.
Spain, usually Rent the Runway. I am not one of these girls that buy all the expensive things. I let them have more money in my investment accounts, but that's just me.
See, all the tricks. And, then you can wear it once and feel, good about it.
Yeah, I don't know. When we buy things, we don't wear it again anyways. The most thing we'll wear again is probably a purse and maybe some shoes. But once someone's seen it on Instagram, we don't wear it again. We're like, so right, to be honest. So I'm like, please, no. So I don't do it. But it's just like, yeah. So I think, like what you said, those offline conversations are where things happen. So I would encourage anyone, even if you're new starting out, don't go and overwhelm yourself and say, I'm going to talk to everybody in the world. No. Still a couple people. Okay. Like, look at who's speaking in advance. If there's someone that you want to be like or emulate, go to their sessions, ask questions at the session, and then see if you can corner them later and develop and if they have training courses, pay for them and go. Yeah. And gradually ingrain yourself in their circle, in their inner circle of training and all of this. And they're going to naturally give you those nuggets because most people that are successful are, what do they say? Go-givers? What is it? World givers? Whatever. What is it called? It's like they give.
Yes, they're givers. They are givers and they're more than willing. Like they don't have a scarcity mindset. They have definitely an abundance mindset, which is something that I think is, let's talk about qualities of the most successful people that we see in our space. They're collaborators. They truly actually believe in community. Like, gosh, how much do we hear community over competition? And that is not what we see from the people with a scarcity mindset. Yes. And then also people that think that they're going to save money by not like the planning stuff. Like, it's an investment to hire someone like your team. Well, guess what? Worth every freaking penny when you go through something and you aren't set up. And then they're calling you like scrambling, trying to figure out what to do, but it's too late. Yeah, it's too late. I know. So what else do you think is like other qualities of people that you see and rub shoulders with in your tribe at these conferences?
It's like, I don't have a lot of friends in the industry. It might seem like I do. People think, but no, I literally have like a handful. Like if I'm going to someone's house, that's my friend. You know what I'm saying? Like it's only a handful. But I love a lot of people in the industry. However, who's actually close to me, I call it my comitatus. That's an ancient word for a lord who has his tribe around them. I have my comitatus. I have my people that I bounce ideas off, that I call pretty regularly. We're to the same day, we're FaceTiming, whatever it is. And I love saying that I'm the poorest girl in my friend group, and I love it. I love it. I'm like, go ahead with your 8 figures, babe.
I know, right?
Along the way. So I think it's a tenacity. And also, I think something that I see in my friends that are very successful is like they know their power as a woman. However, they also know how to wield masculine logic, and they go after their dreams and they have really great support systems around them, whether that's their partner or people that help take care of their children or whatever it is. They have excellent support systems around them. And they do a lot of inner work.
Yes.
A lot of inner work. Like, I have a friend, she goes to shamans. Like, she has a spiritual healer. Like, you know what I mean? And that's a characteristic of anyone that is in a closer circle that I respect.
Yeah. It's funny about that. We were in a group session with an academy that I'm a part of. And like everyone had kind of noticed the cadence that I had sort of picked up and the leadership in my team and the shift in all the tides. And like I came into that academy just like everyone else, where you have a problem and you don't know how to move forward. And so you've joined a clan, for example. And so when you are all in this pool of mess and working through things and somebody starts to separate out, they're like, excuse me, what are you doing? Like, how did this happen? And so I answered and I was like, I've started to read, I journal, I have stepped back from patient care. I am, educating myself. I'm investing in education. I'm investing in these other little offshoots to make me more efficient or whatever it may be. And they were like, no, but really, like, what are you doing? And it was so funny to me that they really, like, you missed it. Like, you're never going to get there if you aren't open to the fact that, like, that is the true secret for how you break through those next dimensions, right? Like, you got to transcend. And I think that's who you attract to, like, people that are truly trying to transcend and be able to have the freedom to go between all the dimensions,
Yes, I agree with that. And on that, and there's that concept of quantum leaping. I'm sure you've read about that or whatever, like quantum leaping. And there's this book, I think I quoted about it before. It's just like, it's called As a Man Thinketh. It was written like the early 1900s. However, it's the author, but whatever. It's just like with that, and it's also a biblical term. It says, as a man thinketh, so is he. And even like Bob Proctor, or no, I think it's Bob Proctor. Can't remember, but it's just like, don't quote me on that, guys. But like, he talks about like, it's like you become like, it's like you are before it's seen on the outside, almost like it's like you have to have the self-belief in yourself, and you can literally jump timelines. Like certain things in my life wouldn't have happened, and I didn't even know what I was doing when it was happening, but certain things in my life wouldn't have happened unless I took certain risks that led me to a whole completely different reality of my life. And just by believing that things are going to work out, I feel like when you do things with good, positive intentions, that the universe conspires on your behalf and is creating webs all around you. There's something called Indra's net. Are you familiar with Indra's net?
No. What is that?
Indra's net is this, don't quote me, guys, it might be Hindu. Let me look it up right now.
We need like that guy. We need to be as famous podcasters as like Joe Rogan to have that guy to look stuff up.
I know, right? So it's right here. So Indra's net, it's a metaphor used in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other belief systems to describe the interconnectedness of all things in the universe. So when you are vibrating on a certain level and you're going forth with belief in yourself, the universe literally conspires.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been in aesthetics unless I moved here because I moved to Boston for love. And I moved and I took a chance based on something that was abundant. Love, I took a chance. And then I met the first person I ever knew in aesthetics. I didn't know nothing about it, whatever. And she prophesied over me. She literally was like, what you're doing, you need to do only for aesthetics.
Yeah.
Literally, after I met her, I believed it so much. Like I try to trust any cues the universe is giving me. I literally changed all my branding and everything and said, I only serve aesthetics now.
I love it. I love it. You called your shot. It's like all the ways that you can say, and by the way, I love that I didn't know that a man as a man thinketh is from that long ago, like being a century old, the fact that it's still so relevant, that's wisdom. And so first of all of us, like in our generation, I think that we think like we've created everything that is here, like really having massive respect for that history of all these concepts. Like we do not need to go reinventing the wheel. It is there. It's there. Open your eyes, look, listen to your friends, read these books, because I just learned 2 whole new concepts. Indra's net. I'm really excited but you're so right. When you and live, I really believe in the concept of live intentionally and say what you mean and do what you say. And actually, when I talk about being in the right place at the right time, a woman that I was nannying for told me that. And she's like, if you want to date this kind of person, this is where you put yourself. If you want to have this kind of a career, this is where you put yourself. If you want to be this in your career, this is how you spend your time. And it's like, say what you mean and do what you say. Live consistently with what you want and without making judgments about what's possible. I think that's the other thing. We create our own shackles and we put ourselves in boxes. And if you really tap into, like, not to get so woo-woo, but if you really tap into it is the way, what your purpose is and what your path, like we are all unique individuals put here for really big stuff. And when you tap into that, it really makes what we do seem like more so a means to whatever end we're going towards. And the opportunities are endless. Like you don't have to be in aesthetics forever. You can navigate through whatever. You could be an entrepreneur in a different realm because we're learning skill sets to teach us how to be and what our path is. It's really cool. It's very, very, very true what you said about the web of connections and where it takes you and how every decision is interdependent on the others.
And it's like some of us, like, those of us who've gone through trauma, most entrepreneurs have gone through trauma. Yeah. I'm just going to say it. Like we have some child wound. Raise your hand, y'all. If y'all listening, raise your hand because it's you. But many times we're trying to prove something to ourselves with this someone who would hurt us or trying to make ourselves feel better about ourselves because there's a wound there. And so we want to, whatever. And so like Carl Jung, the wounded healer, that whole concept or whatever. But it's just like, I truly believe that business is a spiritual endeavor. I don't care what anybody says. I think it's a spiritual endeavor. I don't care what you believe. It's just like any successful man you meet, any successful woman, us, whatever, we will always say the person that you become in the process of growing is your pilgrimage. It's your journey. And you're just moving because that's what we have to continue doing until we go back to wherever we came from. And I'm not going to get religious because everyone has a different belief on that. But I really think it's very spiritual business. And some people are just, and me included, I still have things that I fight with. We're stuck in false beliefs. We're stuck in false nervous system patterns, which holds us back in our business. And something you said, I would love to hear more about, because I journal too. However, I would love to hear more about what you do with journaling, how that helped you to break through limiting beliefs, and how did you use writing to script yourself to a new future?
Okay, well, I think there's 3 parts to that. Number 1 is the one that's like basically attached to me at all times. I use the Full Focus Planner, Michael Hyatt, because professionally, this helps me where I create annual goals. These are a quarter at a time. So they're 4 months at a time. or 3 months. I'm sorry. Why I can't do math, but honey, I have different strengths. So they're 3 months at a time, and they really help because you transfer your annual goals to each book, and then you goal detail. You're like, why do you want to do that? What's your motivation? What are the next steps? You can't just say, oh, I want to do this and have no accountability for actually putting together the plan for how you're going to get there. That's ridiculous. And a lot of people do that. They're like, this is my goal. And then they just have zero, like, it's hard work. It's hard work. And so that is how I keep myself. I filter everything that I do through 3 big major nets of goals. And that for me is building strong leaders within my team, anything to do with training, because I want to continue to give back with that. And I think that whenever you train, you're being educated.
That part.
And the third thing is anything to do regenerative medicine wise, because I believe part of my path is to be a healer in many different ways. And those are so aligned with who I am and my personal life philosophy. So then kind of rewinding the tape back to like the second way that I use journaling and writing is I love different book prompts. And I'll get real personal. Like when I was younger and dating, this is a good example. I continually kept falling back into patterns of dating the wrong people. And there was a book called Keeping the Love You Find. I got to look up the author. Keeping the Love You Find. It is by a PhD guy. What's his name? Hendrix Harville. And throughout that book, it talks about our different attachment styles, our different stages of childhood where potentially you could have been wounded. So whatever you're missing or whatever your wound was, essentially you're seeking in your adult relationships, whether they're romantic or otherwise, to fix that and to soothe that. And so that was really preemptive for me to luckily read that before I met my husband and find the partner that was right for me and to have just awareness of what my issues are. They didn't solve them or heal them. That's other additional work that I'm still working on, But then from there also kind of integrating the personal and the professional, I'll ask myself really hard questions. I'll sit down and do the perfect day exercise, which I know you're probably familiar with. Yes, like manifesting. What does the perfect day look like to you? And then without any attachment to what reality looks like. Because if my perfect day looks like riding my bike in Florida along the coast and I live in Michigan, like how are you going to reverse engineer to make that a partial truth for you at least, And so those kind of 3 things really help me to look at who I am, where did I come from, having such gratitude for any of those injuries I'll call as a child or trauma, because that shaped me to be who I am. And it shaped me to embrace that never good enough kind of keep going, keep learning sort of a momentum. And so how can you, like, looking at where I am now, I'm on a path to great success and I'm so grateful for where I've been and where I am now. How can I not be so grateful for my humble beginnings and damaged beginnings, because they've led me to be here and I have immense awareness for them. And I think that then when you start to look at everything that happens to you through your business, through your personal life, it's hard not to start having the practice of looking at it through a lens like, wow, buckle up, baby. What am I going to learn through this?
Girl, honey. Yes. I mean, I'm going to get personal now. So some of you may know that my business partner was also my longtime lover.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope he never listens to this episode. Dear God, he won't listen this far. But in any case,
right? We know them intricately, like his attention will
not listen this far. So like so you guys may know I also own Diamond Hands Media, which is a branding and video production company we're happy. So basically we started that 4 years ago or whatever. It's done immensely well and everything. However, it's like I at some point was like, I need to separate romantically from this and just keep it as business and keep it as friends or have you. And it's just like, however, it's like what you learn from every connection is kind of crazy. And even after that, it's been like maybe like 14, 15 months or whatever. It's just like, I've gone through, other connections, let's call them. Yeah. And I started doing something different than I did before. I started journaling about the connections and what the interactions were like. how certain things made me feel. And like you said, there was patterns. Like, girl, at 37 years old, why am I still dealing with these patterns that I was dealing with when I was 23 years old, 22, 21, 18, whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I'm like, Leslie Tracy got some issues. So
Right.
he wasn't the problem. It was
Oh my gosh, that's so natural too, is thinking that it's us. We're like, oh, poor guy. Poor guy.
and I just think, but I just think what you said, is having gratitude for every experience, every connection, and being able to get to that point in your life when you're kind of just analyzing things from a third party perspective. I think that is the power of journaling and going back and reading it too and looking for the patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Because just to write it is not enough sometimes. Sometimes you got to be like, look at this entry from 2021. Why do I sound exactly the same? Why am I still in the same mental loop? Like,
yes, there are
2014.
Or vice versa. Like that's so powerful, but also looking back at now that I have like basically volumes of these, looking back and being like, damn, I made that happen. Like when you can go back and reflect, I just made a video recently after I was at Cult Aesthetics where I was like, wow, when I go back and look at the first journal that I ever started, which wasn't these, it was literally Rachel Hollis's Start Today journal. Remember those? Like,
I don't think I used those ever. I don't think I did.
probably not. I mean, they were like there today, gone tomorrow. I think she's on to something else, but it was so impactful in that it was the first time that I was like, oh, this is an interesting concept. Like think about it as if you've already done it. And actually I've done lots of therapy in my life. And I was with this woman briefly that therapists can be toxic too. But again,
that's a whole nother podcast.
That is a whole nother podcast, but she taught me something so interesting that you already know, but it was just interesting to hear it this way. And the power of setting these intentions and living in gratitude, but also living in gratitude for what you're going to have. So she said, Jessica, if I was like, Leslie, if I was like, what color car do you drive? And then you ask me, okay, what color car do you drive? And I was like, a magenta Volkswagen Beetle. You'd be like, oh, well, that's interesting. I haven't seen one of those before. But then the next day you're driving on the road and you see two magenta Volkswagen Beetles, you're going to be like, what the heck? But the point is that we just talked about it. It was relevant. It was in our mind. And so therefore, like, are those magenta Volkswagen Beetles brand new, or now that they're in your mind and you're thinking about them, you're able to see them? So same thing for our concepts. So if I want to open a medical aesthetic practice in Florida, and I'm focused on that and I talk about it frequently, I put it into my journals, I put it into my goal detail, I share it with people. I'm brave enough to share that dream with someone, because that's a lot of people are too scared to talk about their dreams because what if they don't happen? Then I'm going to be aligned to be thinking about that all the time. And I'm going to be set in the path of other people that could potentially align with me and make that happen, whether it's partnerships, whether it's people who know somebody that this is a great place, or heat maps with my business partners or consultants, or whatever it may be to get me to that end goal. You're aware of it and it's in the forefront of your mind. And I think that's such a powerful concept of intentional living, is waking up every day and saying, here's 6 things that I'm grateful for, and 6 things that I'm grateful for that are happening or have happened, but they haven't really happened yet. So that you're thinking
about quantum reality yet. Yeah, my timeline. They haven't had my timeline.
Yes.
That though, one thing I do want to ask you too, because I think there's a dark side of also speaking our intentions out loud, mental masturbation. Because not everybody is mentally strong to do the actions behind an intention. Because it's been scientifically proven that when we say, oh, I'm going to do this, oh, I'm going to do that, the dopamine in our brain spikes as if we had done some of those things already. For certain people, when they put it out, they maybe get 500 likes on whatever they're going to do. And then they actually don't do it because they've gotten some feedback loop satisfaction, and they actually don't realize that potential of that goal. How can you prevent that when you speak your intention to the world?
Well, one thing I think is like, okay, so Rachel Hollis would, in her Start Today journal, she explains the whole concept like, say it as if you made it happen, 10 dreams that you made happen that you're writing down every day. Well, if you didn't really make them happen, then you really shouldn't be saying that because your mind isn't really smart enough to disconnect with like what you're feeding it. And so instead of being like, I did this or I am currently doing this, it's really having the foresight to say, I am doing this. I am on the path to doing this because that's actually not betraying your body because you're actually doing it. But I agree with you that people do go out there and say like, I'm launching this. And then you're right. If they say that they've done it as if they have, or they're announcing or pretending that they're ahead of what they actually are, then you can get, I mean, we're getting dopamine hits all day long. That dopamine crisis is bad in every single way. Like we're just so thirsty for that next easy dopamine hit. And so I think too, it's integrating into your personal life things that aren't easily come by. Like people forget to work out and eat healthy food and go to bed early and maybe not drink so many drinks and maybe get off your phone an hour before bed, like minimize so that dopamine is raw and it actually works when you need it to.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I know we're coming down to time here. However, I just know there was a woman that I was talking to and she was literally living in a loop from 20 years ago. She was like, I'm a single mom with 3 kids and it's hard out here. And it's like, your kids are in college now. Like you're living in a loop from 20 years ago when it was really hard. You went through a traumatic experience of breaking up with your husband and then all of a sudden being faced with a bunch of debt because he was the breadwinner and all this stuff. And like you're living in that loop. And so your business is not growing because you're literally living in a negative loop of what this is. And you continue talking about, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. However, because my clients, when we're doing branding work, I ask really personal questions. I think it's spiritual. Yeah. And like, she was like, she's like, yeah, she's like, I don't sleep at night. She's like, I'm on my phone more all of the night. Da, da, da. I said, try something. Said, even if you can't sleep, I said, put your phone in another room, take a shower or a bath at nighttime, put a little face mask on, put on pajamas, get out a notebook and just write. No matter what it is, just write. Put on some nice music, drink some tea. I was like, get yourself into a new habit because you're messing with your brain by always being on your phone. Always, because I said, how many hours a week do you work? She was like, probably 100. I said, how many hours do you see people in clinic? Maybe 30. I'm like, you're not working 100 hours a week. I was like, you are filling your brain with thoughts of working, but you're actually not working.
Mm-hmm. And that's so toxic too, that hustle culture, like get away from that. I think that you should have very clear time on your schedule, whether it's creative time, what you're doing. And then we should celebrate. I actually have struggled with this too. Like being an entrepreneur, I've fully stopped seeing patients so that I can work on my business versus in it because I used to be the 100% opposite. And sometimes in the middle of the day, like I will take a tea time and I still like fight the urge to not justify, well, I work all weekend. Or it's like, why do we do that? Like, why are we trying to validate? And that's an inner child thing, right? It goes back to that. Like when my mom would come home, like as a single mom, like from work, like we would jump up and go be like unloading the dishwasher. Like free time wasn't celebrated in my life, and doing something that just felt good and it was more of a necessity. Like we were living off of, there was no real luxury. And so that's a foreign concept to me. And so I think that a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of your clients really struggle with like blocking time, allowing for free time. But guess what? When I started forcing myself to have free days and free time and also not allowing myself to justify it or not allowing, like I'd be like, oh, I don't want to put this maybe on social media because I don't want people to think I'm not working. It's like, well, the reality is, first of all, I work 24/7 in some regard, and I have a responsibility, but as long as my responsibilities are met and I'm doing what I said I was going to do in my book, it's really no one's business how I spend my time. It's up to me to make sure that I'm not spending it in bad ways, like on my phone. And by the way, I'm a huge bath taker. My secret is 2 scoops of really good quality Epsom salt, a couple drops of patchouli essential oil. That's my go-to. And you just sit there. My kids know, like, oh, she's taking a bath. we're going to leave it alone.
That's where I decompress as well. It's one of my greatest pleasures. So having those good habits and actually putting those things in your schedule and just kind of like round it out, making sure you guys who are listening, make sure that you're outsourcing as well. And work with your planner or work with your mentor or coach, whatever, to kind of figure out when is the right time and when you should keep someone on the inside or when you should go outside or whatever. However, it's just like, do those things because those are going to give you the time, because business was not made so that you just make yourself another job, like Robert Kiyosaki says. It's not here to make yourself another job. That's not what we're here to do. I see it all the time. I'm like, okay, you left the hospital, you're making $200,000 a year. You've been working in your business for 6 years. You're still only making $200,000 a year, but now you have more responsibility and a lot more headache. Why? You should go back to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
being in business is a privilege. Being rich is not bad. Having money is not bad. The more money you have, the more resources you have, the more opportunity you're going to be able to give people in the world, the more opportunity you're going to be able to give yourself, your family, your community. And so like, to all the ladies listening or men, get wealthy, get rich, and don't be apologetic about it. And also have free time, like you said, girl, like have free time. I grew up, our family, we weren't rich. What the concept my parents instilled in us was the concept of the Sabbath. So every Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, we were 7-day Adventist. We did not watch any television. We couldn't do any secular things, go to dance or anything, but we would read, we would sing with our family, we would go on walks and do picnics, and we would go to church as a family. My mom, she became superintendent of public schools and got her PhD with 7 kids while always keeping her Sabbath. She never compromised it for anybody, ever.
I love that. That is called a boundary. And the boundaries are something that we let everyone walk all over. And I love that about your family. I think that there's so much about your childhood and so many things that we share into, because I homeschool my kid. They're very unschooled. Yeah. And my kids are learning what it means to like mind, soul, and body be wealthy. Like they go to the office with us and they ask us about like why we're shipping packages or why we have to take the cash to the bank or why, like all those things where I just look at them and I think, wow, first of all, they're watching their parents celebrate freedom of time, money, purpose, and relationships. And they're a generation, you always want to give your kids something that you didn't have. And I think that they also get to celebrate downtime. Like we're not running them all over the place. Like, what do you love to do? Like, let's do that. And it's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. I love that. And the last thing I'll add to this, the concept, those of you listening, you may know the concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like everyone we went through like intro, social, psych or whatever. And it's just like, you have to think about for yourself, what rung are you on? What rung are you striving towards? And how is that level showing up in your business and who you are attracting into your business? So, of course, you have the physiological needs. For most of us, that's taken care of.
Yeah.
We have food, clothing, shelter. Holy, I'm sorry if you don't. Then
you're probably not listening to this podcast if you don't.
Probably not. Then after that, you have safety, and that's making sure you have savings, that maybe you have protection things in place. Maybe you have safeguards around you. Then after that, you're looking for love and belonging, right? And this is where it gets sticky. So love and belonging. And then after that, it becomes esteem. And then after that becomes self-actualization, which is after you've taken care of all those base and those lower needs, we're looking to be our highest self. Business operates in the same way too. Sometimes you could be attracting people who really hate themselves. They're looking for love and belonging. They think they're ugly. They think they're whatever. And I think it's very toxic for people to be like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. You're so this. And like kind of like egging their patients on. And I don't think that's healthy. You know what I mean? It's like, stop it. It's just like, because you're appealing to some people have body dysmorphia and a sickness. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's the calling for us as in medical aesthetics, I think too, to implement some aspect of wellness, even if it's just making sure that you're screening for BDD and making sure that you're not like, we have a calling to do right by these other women and men as they come into the space. But the reality is it's majority of women. And like you, I have such a passion for really like, I would rather sell confidence to someone, even if it's having a conversation and, letting them find their way in a different way other than the services that I offer.
Exactly. Because self-actualization, if you can be a business that allows people to feel their higher self or strive for their highest self, or you get people who are already on that level striving on their path to their highest self and they see you as an energetic match, that's where you want to be. So even if you think about brands, that's the last thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah. No, this is good.
Yeah. So it's like, if you think about Walmart in your brain, automatically that goes down to the totem pole. Like you're like, oh God, like we're just trying to stay alive, and then
Roll back.
you're roll back. And at Target, you're like, oh, a little bit better. I'm not going to get shot up in the aisles. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit higher or whatever. And then maybe you look at, I don't know, say Tommy Hilfiger. Okay. Love and belonging. It's cool, whatever, but it's still not the top of the totem pole. And then you're like, ooh, but Ernest.
That's where my mind went. Yes. And they don't even let you buy a bag. You got to be on some fake list and you have to.
Or you got to be real nice to the salesperson. Like, and buy a bunch of stuff. So the brands that are about self-actualization, they don't pander to anybody.
Mm.
They live as their highest self. Unapologetically in all their brand assets. They're doing all these things. So I would encourage and challenge anyone that's listening to Jessica and I talk. First of all, work on your inner self. That is truly the key. Working on your inner self is going to be what causes these quantum leaps in your life. And it's going to take you from one level of success to the next level of success. And let me tell you, just by working on yourself, it doesn't have to be hard. Some people think you got to work. No, I've accomplished so much stuff and it's just by being in position it's just very weird. I can't even explain it. And you have too. I know that, Jessica. And so work on yourself and also systems, processes, work on your team. What we talked about too, limited thinking, think in abundance, always think towards your highest self, journal, do those types of things. And then with your business too, it's just like, don't do what everyone else is doing. Like there's some injectors, like their social media accounts, I swear it's only for other injectors. I'm like, how are you attracting patients with this crap?
Yeah.
I'm like, stop it. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with having less followers, but more impact with who is actually following you. Respect the 1,000 people that are following you. Respect the 2,000 people that follow you. Respect the people that follow you if you're just starting. And stop thinking you got to dance and do nonsense and do all these things in order to earn a buck.
Yeah.
You're not a digital prostitute. Let's stop.
Amen, sister. Yes.
That's it. That's all I got.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been, first of all, selfishly so enriching to my day and starting off, my day so beautifully. And so I'm so grateful for the time that you gave me. I know your trip that you were going on got canceled. So look at that.
Led though. All of the universe led.
Right? We were supposed to have this
time. Was supposed to see a man in California. See a man in California. And so my dating coach was like, no, you shouldn't go because they don't even like him that much. If the other guy that you're seeing knew about it and wanted to hang out with you, you drop it and not even go. I was like, you're right, but I didn't listen. Then a second friend of mine said, he didn't book you first class. You should not go. I was like, you're right. And then my business partner was like, you definitely shouldn't go because you have got work to do and you're going to Jamaica next week. And I didn't listen. Homeboy got COVID last night. The universe was like, no, you ain't going nowhere.
But you were living so intentionally with what you want that it was just the signs they were like bumpers, like how I bowl, like, come on, girl, let's go down this way. Oh my gosh. Well, this was the best. I'm so grateful for you and all this time that you gave me. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Make sure that you follow both of our podcasts in the show notes. And if you are interested in setting up your business for success, you definitely want to connect with our girl. And we're going to make sure that all of her information is in our show notes as well.
Want more clarity like this? Join the Branded Practice newsletter community. I write about strategy, systems, and brand leadership straight to your inbox. Go to diamondhandsmedia.com to sign up. And if this episode hit, Share it with someone still building without a brand. This is the Diamond Hands Podcast. Thanks for listening. Now go lead.